Okay, so it has picked up speed. And you're telling me that is either because it has some alternate source of propulsion other than gravitational pull, or it has an engine. And if it does not have an engine, you're suggesting it should have been shedding size. That's the only way it would have picked up speed. So if it hasn't shedded size, essentially it's got an engine and therefore it's alien?
Well, yeah, that would be a very interesting possibility.
What? All right, guys. 3-Eye Atlas has turned blue near the sun. Avi Loeb is on the Will Kane Show discussing it. Let's get into it.
Harvard professor and astrophysicist Avi Loeb. Professor Loeb, thanks for being with us here today. You have been the most legitimate voice, the most renowned or credible voice in pointing out this has some high probability of being something other than a deep space comet. I believe, Professor, you gave it a 40% probability before this latest evidence. Let's talk about what this evidence is: a blue tail and a change in pace.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Indeed, I did a calculation that indicated that in order for it to accelerate in the way that it did recently, it must have, if it's a natural comet, it must have lost a substantial fraction of its mass, of all the 20% or so. And we should see a very massive cloud of gas around it as soon as it comes out of the being hidden behind the sun. That should weigh of order 5 billion tons of gas around it. If we don't see that, there must have been some other means of propulsion that gave it that acceleration. So that's very exciting. You know, it's sort of like going on a blind date and wondering who is on the other side. And, you know, it could be a rock. Maybe that's the most likely interpretation. But we should be open-minded. We should be humble because it's an opportunity to learn something new.
Okay, so it has picked up speed, and you're telling me that is either because it has some alternate source of propulsion other than gravitational pull, or it has an engine. And if it does not have an engine, you're suggesting it should have been shedding size. That's the only way it would have picked up speed. Wow. So if it hasn't shedded size, essentially it's got an engine and therefore it's alien?
Well, yeah, that would be a very interesting possibility. But the cloud of gas that it should have shed, you know, it's a...
You guys let me know in the comments what you think about this story. It's pretty crazy. Avi Loeb is a Harvard professor. Just letting you guys know. I'm going to be quiet here so we can get back to the story, and then I'll comment later. Let's get it.
Significant fraction of its mass. So it was obliterated by the sunlight in that case. And we should see that the object is losing a lot of mass into a cloud of gas. That's easy to spot with all our telescopes. You know, we have hundreds of them around the globe. So within a few weeks, we will be able to tell. That's what makes it exciting. If there is no gas that it sort of shed and therefore got a recoil from that shedding, you know, like the rocket effect, then it's something else that propelled it. And as you pointed out, it appeared bluer than the sun. You know, that's very unusual because usually comets are red because they're surrounded by dust that makes them red. Their surface is cooler than the surface of the sun, and therefore they are redder. But this one seems to be bluer when it approached the sun. That's actually the time for a spacecraft to accelerate, to use the gravitational assist from the sun.
Wow. So last question for you, Professor. If my memory serves correctly, you had it at 40% before this evidence of acceleration and the blue tail. Now that you have this evidence, has your calculation changed at all? 40% that it is some type of artificial technology?
I would wait a few more weeks and either revise my ranking down to 0 or to 10. And of course, that's what makes science exciting. We shouldn't have an opinion about our dating partner. You know, my best advice to people who go on blind dates is to observe the other side before having an opinion. Okay. So I'm just waiting for a few more weeks.
I think this date will end in early December. So we'll check back in and see how you enjoyed the date in early December. Thank you.
All right, guys. You guys let me know in the comments what you actually think about this. You know, I've got a question when it comes to this. Now, he said most comments are actually red when they are actually, whenever we actually see them. So I'm wondering, it says when spacecraft normally use the sun as a slingshot or use, planets as a, slingshot, so to speak, to pick up more speed. then they usually turn blue. He said most spaceships turn blue like that. I'm wondering if I could look something up real quick and see if we have any instances on what color actually spacecrafts turn when they actually slingshot around the sun and planets. I'll be right back. Research time. Real quick, if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. That way you'll get notified the second any new podcasts, videos, or clips are uploaded. YouTube doesn't always push everything out, so turning on notifications, make sure you stay in the loop. All right, guys, here we go. Here's what I have found. It says gravitational slingshot is a change in spacecraft's velocity and direction due to a planet's motion and gravity, not an optical or visible light effect. And as we go down here, it says the ship's color can stay the same to the human eye because the change in speed doesn't limit its emitted or reflected visible light in a noticeable way. It says, however, from a physics standpoint, if you were observing it from very far away with sensitive instruments, you would notice a tiny Doppler shift. And it says here, if the ship is moving towards you after the slingshot, its light will be blue shifted, slightly bluer. Yo, that's pretty crazy. If it's moving away from you, it would be red shifted. That's interesting, man. You know, I learn something every day doing this podcast, man. I learn something every day. Hope you guys are having a beautiful and wonderful day. You watch it on there with Nick Driver podcast. Please don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. And let me know what you guys enjoy. You guys have a great and wonderful, beautiful day. Take care.